The Georgia runoff races for Senate continue to make headlines all across the country, including on Meet the Press. We have the pleasure of being joined now by the moderator, Chuck Todd. Chuck, thanks so much for being with us today.
Happy to do so, Ben.
So given the nature of this story and just how big a deal it is in terms of the balance of power, what are the chances this is your lead story on Sunday?
Well, you know, it's interesting. It's not going to be the lead story this Sunday, all right? But it is the atmosphere as to why we're dealing with the situation we're dealing with. So, why are so many elected Republicans in Washington hesitant to utter the phrase President-elect Joe Biden? I got one answer for you: the Georgia Senate runoffs, right? The number 2 leader in the Senate, John Thune, the number 2 on the Republican side, he said the quiet part out loud. He said, we need the president's voters. They need the president engaged. And there is this fear that if it looks like they are rushing to sort of toss the president aside, that he takes his ball and goes home, right? And, you know, his voters are not, we learned this in 2018. Just like the phenomenon we saw with Barack Obama when he was on the ballot, you know, there was a certain constituency showed up in bigger numbers than when he wasn't on the ballot. And Donald Trump has a very similar phenomenon. And so there's a big fear among Republicans that if the Trump rural base doesn't turn out, that the Democrats will swamp them with a surge of turnout in the Atlanta suburbs. So that's the reasoning. So it's not the lead story, but it's the entire background music to why we're in the situation we're in right now, Ben.
So you did mention that some lawmakers have, refrained at this point to call Joe Biden the president-elect. We're getting emails here to the station every day when we refer to Joe Biden as the president-elect. What do you make of that, or what do you make of that just from, our average viewers out there conducting or engaging in that behavior?
Well, look, you've got, unfortunately, we have a big chunk of the country that doesn't believe reality. Is that on the president who has sort of conditioned an electorate for 4 years? I mean, it's hard not to look at what's happened over the last four years, seeing sort of the way the president engages, constantly undermines the mainstream press, tells his supporters don't believe the facts that are in front of your face. And then we ask ourselves, come 4 years later, oh wow, they don't believe what we're reporting. We shouldn't be shocked. I do think it is one of the scarier developments for the democracy is the fact that you have a whole bunch of viewers that are leaving the president's former favorite network because they've decided that network accidentally told the truth about the presidential election and are actively saying, no, I want to go where I hear information that I want to hear. This is no longer about our jobs, making sure we're telling the truth, making sure we're fact-checking. We've been doing that plenty. We have the public now wanting to reject reality and go to some place that tells them something that isn't true, but it makes them feel better. When you have millions of people wanting to go down that path, that is tough to keep a republic together.
Now, I know NBC News reported extensively on the actions of our incumbent senators, David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler, when they asked for the Republican Secretary of State to resign over the way our election was handled. They couldn't offer any specific claims of fraud, but that was what they were doing. Do you think that will have a lasting effect on people's belief in fair elections?
It's hard. I do. I think it does. All of this has an incremental impact, and I think sows a level of discord and distrust that will only linger and fester. I mean, by the way, our reporting indicates the 2 senators did that after talking to the president. So the implication was essentially it almost felt like a quid pro quo, or certainly could look like that from where I sit, which is if you want my help, you better stick by me on this. And they desperately need the president's help. But here's my concern. Does the next Secretary of State candidate decide, in order to win, are you made to make some promises to an electorate? I mean, the thing that is scary is some elected officials decided, no, my job is to do X, I better do X. What if they chose not to? What if they chose to follow the mob? The mob is telling them, no, don't certify this. you know, don't do it. If you do, you're disloyal, rather than, you know, maybe you're just doing your job and following the Constitution. So my concern is that this creates sort of a long-term expectation that people in positions of power, like who oversee elections, are there to manipulate the results.
All right, Chuck Todd, thank you for your time today. We appreciate it, and we will see you on Sunday for Meet the Press.
You got it, Ben. Thanks a lot.